is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
Good day, everybody. How are you doing? It's the 4th of October 2014, and this is UCY.tv with the Solvinur event. Let's get into the Mahabharata today, where we left off last week. Last week we were discussing the names, offspring, basically. And we left off with a little discussion about karma. So I'll pick it up there. But first, let's welcome the early birds in the chat room. You can get there if you go to ucy.tv. Mouse over shows, click on any of them. And you will end up on a page that has a chat room. Dan is there. JJ, he's in there for 1067 minutes. Jules, already in there for an hour. Planet something has also been in there for a long time. Vince and One Anon, welcome everybody. How you doing? So let's pick up where I left off last week. Is about karma. Now, it's a very strange idea, actually. They have this idea in India a lot. They regard it as fact that humans, they are under some influence. And they think that there are some kind of laws in place which will direct the way your life takes place. On a non-human level, they also have this idea about animals. All right? They think that you, as a living being, migrate from body to body, and at some point you end up in the animal world. You might become a pig or a dog or a cow, a tiger, an elephant, whatever. And I'll get to your question soon, Dan. And they think that after you've lived your life as a cat or whatever, an ant, a flea, doesn't matter what, you automatically end up in what they call higher incarnation. And at some point you will reach an incarnation of a lion, a monkey, or a cow. Now those three represent the modes of nature that I talked to you about 2 times now. So I'm not going to repeat that. They claim that if you are born as a cow and you die, you will end up with a human incarnation. Same goes for monkey and for lion. All right, so monkey, for ignorance, lion for passion, cow for goodness, all right? So that's the idea that they have about animals. They cannot sin, so they will never ever go down on this incarnation ladder, so to speak. All right? So, but once you are human, they claim that, well, if you act like a dog in this life, you will have an incarnation as a dog in the next. Or if you sleep a lot in this life, you will end up as a bear in the next life, so you can hibernate. All right? So it sounds like the universe is made for living entities to live out their wishes, all right? But there's also this idea that, well, if you're born in Africa and you're a starving baby, then, well, that's your karma, that's your own fault. Right? So that's a very bad way of looking at things, because there is a different reason why there is starvation. It has nothing to do with the earth not being able to provide. It has to do with how things are divided amongst people. All right, so that's a very sadistic way of looking at these babies being born in Africa, for instance. I'm just giving an example, right? Or when a pious person or a devout Christian, whatever, someone that has always praised the Lord and so on, gets into a car accident. Right? That's your karma. Well, you must have done something bad in one of your past lives. Right? So that's also a illogical way to look at why things happen. Then there is the question from Dan. It says here, I don't know if it's a joke or what. How is aesthetic penance performed? Will it affect your karma? Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't believe that you have karma. But according to them, if you do aesthetic penance, your negative karma will be diminished. Well, that means that whatever sins you have committed, you will get negative karma from that. Right? They divide things in negative and positive karma. And the idea is that neither of those is really good. You know, negative karma ties you to the material world, but positive karma also brings you back in this material world. And the whole idea is to not be born again in this material world, because this nature of the material world does not fit with the nature of you, of your being. Right? You are of an absolute nature, which does not jive with material nature. So the whole idea is to lose all your karma, which is basically impossible. That's why they call it the wheel of karma. It's unescapable. All right, let's see. That's off the top of my head if I can think of anything else. Yeah, there's more things. Now you will hear a lot of these New Agers speak about karma, right? They really have no clue. They don't even know how many different types of karma there are. There are 4 types of karma. There's karma, there's akarma, there's vikarma, and what they call Krishna karma. So there's the 4 types. Karma means action, Akarma means non-action. And the difference between action and non-action is a very difficult topic. And we might get into that at some later stage when we go into the Bhagavad Gita, which it's what explains. There's a chapter in the Bhagavad Gita which explains all about this. What is karma? What is akarma? Then there's vikarma, vi karma, which means forbidden action. Right, which is a strange thing in itself. I mean, what laws are there that forbid action? Right? There's only the human laws that we speak of when we go to court, for instance. But there are no laws in the universe that we can break. Like the law of gravity, for instance. Try and jump up and you will come down. You can't break it. Even if you get into a spaceship and move yourself so high that you're in orbit around Earth, doesn't mean that you have broken the law of gravity, you see. So that's a very strange idea also. What laws are they talking about? Well, it's God's laws. Well, there's no such thing as God's laws. Not because God doesn't exist, but because if there is such a thing as God, he doesn't need any laws. There's no need for God to have laws. Are they praying the equivalent of the rosary in Hindi? In Hindu, you probably mean. Yeah, Hindu is a bad word. I mean, it refers to a whole set of religions, just like there is a whole set of Christianities out there. All right? And so, then there is a equivalent of praying the rosary. In fact, the rosary thing probably comes from India. It's just been adapted for Western society. In India they call it japa, G-A-P-A, J-A-P-A, not G, J, J-A-P-A. It's a string of 108 beads, which they use like a rosary. You will see, you will find that also back in Muslim beliefs. They also carry around this little string of beads. It's the same thing. Morning, Jax. How you doing, buddy? What's up? All right. So, and if you ever hear these people speak about karma, and they say, well, it's the law of karma. Well, name me one. Ask them to present you with one law. It says, well, if you do this, then that happens. Something like that. They can't even name one law specifically. That is to explain what this law of karma supposedly is. Vince says, I beg the question that God would have laws. I'm not exactly sure what you mean there, Vince, but look, it's like this. If God exists, he's all-powerful. He's all-knowing. He has all absolute properties. And therefore, he needs no laws. It would be a contradiction in itself that God would have laws, because he doesn't need them. Why would he need laws? If God exists where he lives in heaven, quote unquote, heaven, right? Things are always perfect. So there's no need for laws. Yeah. All right. I think that's enough about that. We'll pick this up where we left off. If you have any questions in the chat room, I'll try and catch them while I read from this section. We're picking this up at some names. More names, guys. More offspring. You get that in the Bible also. It says here, I shall recount many others, O Bharata. Anavadya Manu. Yeah, Manu is, I don't know if they're especially talking about this Manu here that was on earth, according to their mythology. Manu was the first man on earth, just like the literal story of Adam and Eve, which you can better see as groups of people. But Manu is the first man on earth. In fact, they claim that's where we got the word man from. From this Manu, M-A-N-U. Right? Vansa, Asura, Marganapriya, Anupa, Subhaga, Vasi were the daughters brought forth by Prada, Sida, and Purna, and Varhim, and Purnayus of great fame, Brahmacharin, Ratiguna, and Suparna, who was the seventh, Vishvasu, Banu, and Suchandra, who was the 10th, were also sons of Prada. All these were celestial Gandharvas. It is also known that this Prada of great fortune, through the celestial Rishi, Kasyapa, her husband, brought forth the secret of the Apsaras, Alamvasu, Misrakesi, Vidyatparna, Tilotama, Aruna, Rakshita, Ramba, Manorama, Kesini, Suvaha, Saruta, Suraja, and Supriya were the daughters, and Ativahu and the celebrated Ha and Hu, right. And Tumvura were the sons, the best of the Gandharvas, and Prada and Amrita. The Brahmanas, cows, Gandharvas, and Apsaras were born of Kapila, as stated in the Purana. Thus has been recited to thee, by me, the birth of all creatures duly, of Gandharvas and Apsaras, of snake, Suparnas, Rudras, and Maruts, of cows and Brahmanas blessed with great fortune, and of sacred deeds. And this account, if read, extends the span of life, is sacred, worthy of all praise, and gives pleasure to the ear. It should be always heard and recited to others in a proper frame of mind. He who duly reads this account of the birth of all high-souled creatures in the presence of gods and Brahmanas obtains large progeny, good fortune and fame, and attains also to excellent worlds hereafter. Yeah. There is a contradiction in the word high-souled creatures. It says creatures. The word create is in there, right? But they claim that any soul is eternal. Eternal means has no beginning or no end. So it cannot ever have been created. Right? So the word creatures and high-souled are contradicting. Alright, next section. More of Sambhava Parva. Vaisampayana said, it is known that the spiritual sons of Brahman were the 6 great rishis, already mentioned. There was another of the name of Shtanu, And the sons of Stanu, gifted with great energy, were, it is known, 11. Yeah. They were Migravadhyada, Sarpa Niriti of great fame, Ajayikapat, Ahivratna, and Pinaki, the oppressor of foes. Yeah. Which foes? Again, they use that a lot, right? Oppressor of foes. You've heard that many, many times now. They never ever tell you who those foes are, though. Not until now, anyway. Dahana and Ishvara and Kapali of great splendor, and Shtanu and the illustrious Bharga. These are called the 11 Rudras. It has been already said that Marichi, Giras, Atri, Pulatsya, Pulaha, and Kratu, these 6 great rishis of great energy, are the sons of Brahma. Yeah. What about wives? How are you going to make offspring without wives? It is well known in the world that Angira's sons are 3. Vrihaspati, Uttaha, and Samvarta, all of rigid vows. And, O king, it is said that the sons of Atri are numerous. And, being great rishis, they are all conversant with the Vedas, crowned with ascetic success, and of souls in perfect peace. Yeah. And, O tiger among kings, the sons of Pulastya, of great wisdom, are Rakshasas, monkeys, Kinnaras, those are half men and half horses. You've seen those pictures before, right? 4-legged creatures with a head of a man. Right? That comes from the mythical stories of the Vedas. They are called Kinnaras. And Jaksas, O king, the son of Paluha were, it is said, the Salabas, the winged insects. The lions, the Kimpurushas, half lion, half man. More of those mythical creatures. The tigers, bears, and wolves, and the sons of Kruta, sacred as sacrifices, are the companions of Surya. The Valikilias, known in 3 worlds, and devoted to truth and vows. And, O protector of the earth, the illustrious Rishi Daksha, of soul in complete peace and of great asceticism, sprung from the right toe of Brahman. Huh. And from the left toe of Brahman sprang the wife of the high soul Daksha. Alright, so we got right toe, left toe, man and female. And the same goes for your brain. Apparently, you have a female and a male part. And the Muni begot upon her 50 daughters, and all those daughters were the faultless features of limb and eyes, like lotus petals. And the Lord Daksha, not having any sons, made those daughters his putrikas, so that their sons might belong both to himself and to their husbands. Yeah. What is this nonsense, right? So that their sons might belong both to himself and to their husbands. It's as if he's saying, you're mine now. Right? That's inhumane. People are supposed to be free, not belonging to anyone. And Daksha bestowed, according to the sacred ordinance, 10 of his daughters on Dharma, 27 on Chandra, the moon. See how he is, giving away his daughters like they are his property? No, that's barbaric. All right. And 13 on Kasyapa. Listen as I recount the wives of Dharma according to their names. There are 10 in all. Kirti, Lakshmi, Driti, Meda, Pushti, Shraddha, Kriya, Buddhi, Laya, and Mali. There are the wives of Dharma as appointed by the self-create. It is known also throughout the world that the wives of Soma, brackets open, moon, brackets close, are 27. Alright, so this is more about numerology than anything else, guys. And the wives of Soma, all of sacred vows, are employed in indicating time. And they are the nakshatras and the yoginis, and they became so for assisting the courses of the world. The universe is ruled by time. And Brahman had another son named Manu, and Manu had a son of the name of Prajapati, and the sons of Prajapati were 8, and were called Vasus, whom I shall name in detail. They were Dara, Dhruva, Soma, Aha, Anali, Anala, Patriyashu, and Pravasa. These 8 are known as the Vasus. Of these, Dara and the truth-knowing Dhruva were born of Dhumra, Chandramas, and Svasana were born of the intelligent Svasa. Aha was the son of Rata, and Hutasana of Sadilia. What the hell is this use? What's the use of this? Why do we need to know all these names? There's no philosophical value in this whatsoever. And the Dara had 2 sons, Dravina and Hutahavyavaha. And the son of Dhruva is the illustrious Kala. Kala is another word for time. The destroyer of worlds. Yeah, time destroys everything. And Soma's son is the resplendent Varchas, and Varchas begot upon his wife Manohara 3 sons, Sisiri and Ramana. Yeah. 3 sons, it says, right? And then give 2 names, Sisira and Ramana. And the son of Aha were Joyti, Sama, Santa, and Muni. And the son of Agni is the handsome Kumara, born in a forest of reeds. And he is also called Kartikeya because he was reared by Kritika and others. And after Kartikeya, there were born his 3 brothers, Saksha, Visakha, and Naigameya. And the wife of Anila is Shiva, and Shiva's son were Manojava and Avyanatagati. These 2 were the sons of Anila. The son of Pratyusha, you must know, is the rishi named Devala. And Devala had 2 sons who were both exceedingly forgiving, and of great mental power. And the sister of Vrihaspati, the first of women, uttering the sacred truth, engaged in ascetic penances, roamed over the whole earth, and she became the wife of Prabhasa, the 8th Vasu. And she brought forth the illustrious Vishvakarman, the founder of all arts. All arts? Huh. And he was the originator of 1,000 arts, the engineer of the immortals, the maker of all kinds of ornaments, and the first of artists. And he it was who constructed the celestial chariots of the gods. Yeah. Is this where this dude got his idea from? Very bad book. And mankind are unable to live in consequence of the inventions of that illustrious one. And he is worshipped for that reason by men, and he is eternal and immutable, this Vishvakarman. And the illustrious Dharma, the dispenser of all happiness, assuming a human countenance, came out through the right breast of Brahman. And Ahasta Dharma had 3 excellent sons capable of charming every creature. And they are Sama, Kama, and Harsha, which is translated as peace, desire, and joy. And by their energy, they are supporting the worlds. They are supporting the worlds. Like in Greek mythology. It doesn't make sense, right? The world does not need to be supported. There's nothing holding up the world. It's the sun that keeps the world in place. No other reason. And the wife of Kama is Rati, of Sama is Prapti, and the wife of Harsha is Nanda. Morning, JJ. And upon them indeed are the worlds made to depend. Really? What do you mean, why do they depend on that? How exactly does that work, huh? And the son of Marichi is Kashyapa, and Kashyapa's offspring are the gods and the asuras, and therefore is Kashyapa the father of the worlds. And Tvashtri, of the form of Vadara, a mare, became the wife of Savitri, and she gave birth in the skies to 2 greatly fortunate twins, the Asvins. Hold on, guys. And O king, the son of Aditi are 12, with Indra heading them all. And the youngest of them was Vishnu, upon whom the world depends. Yeah. Another thing that the world is supposed to depend on. It's a self-sustaining rock floating in space. These are 33, again the numerology coming into place here as far as I'm concerned. I have no clue what exactly it means, but this has more to do with numbers than anything else. These are the 33 gods, 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, 12 Adyatis, Prajapatis, and Vashatkara. Yeah. I shall now recount their progeny according to their pakshas. The only thing that I can kind of tie it to is these 33. The 8 is one of the Fibonacci sequence. 11 is one of the Jacob sequence. 12 would tie to the signs in the sky. I shall now recount their progeny according to their pakshas, kulas and ganas. The Rudras, the Sadyas, the Maruts, the Vasus, the Bhargavas, and the Vishvedevas are each reckoned as a Paksha. Right, see, it's reckoning what's going on here. It's to do with numbers. Garuda, the son of Vinata, and the mighty Aruna also, and the illustrious Vrihaspati are reckoned among the Adityas. The twin Aswins, all annual plants, and all inferior animals are reckoned among the Guhyakas. These are the ganas of the gods recited to thee. This recitation washed men of all sins. The illustrious Brigu. Yeah, that 33 is also strange, right? You're right, Jax. So, 30 and 33 have to do with the angle of the sun. The illustrious Brigu came out, ripping open the breast of Brahman. The learned Sukra is Brigu's son, and the learned Sukra became a planet and engaged according to the command of the self-existent in pouring and withholding rain. Yeah. Engaged according to the command of the self-existent. Alright, there's another contradiction in there. Alright, according to their own philosophy, they claim that a soul has the same properties as God, just not in the same, what is it? I'm looking for this word. Quantity, alright? They have the same qualities, but not the same quantity. Alright, so that means that because God is free, all souls are free as well. And they cannot be commanded to do anything. In fact, a soul cannot even act. Not in this material world. That's because, and I mention this again because it's really important to understand this whole philosophy of theirs. It's because a soul is made of a totally different energy than the material world. It cannot interact with it. That's why. There's no acting for the soul in the universe. It's impossible. Where were we? For self-existent in pouring and withholding rain, and in dispensing and remitting calamities, traverses, for sustaining the lives of all creatures in the three worlds, through the skies. And the learned Sukra of great intelligence and wisdom, of rigid vows, leading the life of a brahmacharin, divided himself in twain by power of asceticism, and became the spiritual guide of both the Daityas and the gods. Daityas, I think they are angels, right? Or what is in Christianity known as angels. And after Sukra was thus employed by Brahman in seeking the welfare of the gods and the Asuras, Brigu begot another excellent son. This was Jayavana, who was like the blazing sun, of virtuous soul and of great fame. And he came out of his mother's womb in anger, and became the cause of his mother's release. Yeah? What does it mean? She died? That's what they call release, right? O king, from the hands of the Rakshasa. Yeah, oh, she was released from the hands of the Rakshasa. Okay. And Arushi, the daughter of Manu, became the wife of the wise Jayavana, and on her was begotten Aruva of great reputation. Geez, I hope we're going to get over this name calling thing soon, because it's boring like hell. And Arushi, the daughter of Manu, became the wife of the wise Jayavana, and on her was begotten Aruva of great reputation. And he came out, ripping open the thigh of Arushi. Alright, that's also, you find that back in other mythologies. People being born from the thigh. The sun from the thigh, it says, right? In other mythologies. What they mean is the sun, not with an O, but with a U, rising from the horizon. That's the side, you see? That's what they mean. The sun is born. You understand? A lot of this is sun worship. So keep that in mind. Sun with a U, not with an O. So, and he came out, ripping open the thigh of Arushi, and Aruva begot Rishika, and Rishika, even in his boyhood, became possessed of great power and energy, and of every virtue. And Rishika begot Jamadagni. I may be mistaking about the thigh here. Could be another English word that it reminded me of. And the high-souled Jamadagni had 4 sons, and the youngest of them all was Rama, Parasurama. And Rama was superior to all his brothers in the possession of good qualities. And he was skillful in all weapons, and became the slayer of the Kshatriyas. Yeah. Skillful in all weapons, right? And he uses a club. Right? One of the most simplest weapons. Probably one of the first weapons we humans ever started using. A club, you see? That's the story. He went raging all over the world with his club, rooting out all the Kshatriyas. For 10 generations. So, you know, he wasn't even successful. It took like 10 generations, because the Kshatriyas just keep coming back. So he must have not rooted them all out, right? And he had in his possession, and he had his passions under complete control. Yeah. And Aruva had 100 sons with Jamadagni, the eldest. And these 100 sons had offspring by thousands spread over this earth. And Brahman had 2 other sons, Datri and Vidatri, who stayed with Manu. Their sister is the auspicious Lakshmi, having her abode amid lotuses. And the spiritual sons of Lakshmi are the sky-ranging horses. Sky-ranging horses, right? So where does this movie-making TriStar, where do you think they got their picture from, right? Sky-ranging horses. And the daughter born of Sukra, named Devi, became the eldest wife of Varuna. And of her were born a son named Vala and a daughter named Sura. Sura means wine. To the joy of the gods. Oh, the gods are so happy. And Adharma, we're getting a little glimpse now. Adharma is translated here as sin. See? Because there's also the word dharma, like with karma and akarma. Was born when creatures from want of food began to devour one another. And Adharma always destroys every creature. Yeah, it's a contradiction also, depending on your definition of creature here. Do they mean just a body? You know, any body is destroyed eventually. We all die. But that which gives the body its life force, according to their own philosophy, cannot die. And our Dharma has Niriti for his wife. Whence the Rakshasas, who are called Nairitas, offspring of Nirita, and she has also 3 other cruel sons, always engaged in sinful deeds. Right? So Rakshasas are painted in a painted badly here. They are Bhaya, fear, Mahabhaya, terror. Well, what do we got today, right? Take a look at the television. Fear and terror is what you see, right? And Mritu, death, who is always engaged in slaying every created thing. Yeah? Slaying a thing? How does that work? Slaying to me sounds like ending a life, right? Things do not live. And as he is all destroying, he has no wife and no son. And Tamra brought forth 5 daughters known throughout the worlds. They are crow, hawk, hen, goose, and parrot. And Kaki brought forth the crows, Senya the hawks, the cocks and vultures, Dhritarashtra all ducks and swans. And he also brought forth all Chakravakas. Sounds like creation theory, right? And the fair Suki of amiable qualities. And possessing all auspicious signs brought forth all of the parrots. And Kroda gave birth to 9 daughters, all of wrathful disposition. And their names were Mrigi, Mrigamanda, Hari, Bhadramana, Matangi, Sarduli, Swita, Surabi, and the agreeable Sarasa, blessed with every virtue. And, O foremost of men, the offspring of Mrigi are all animal of deer species. And the offspring of Mrigamanda are all animals of the bear species, of those called Srimara, sweet-footed. And Bhadramana begot the celestial elephants. Why celestial? Airavata and the offspring of Hari are all animals of the simian species, endued with great activity. So also all the horses. And those animals also that are called Golangula are said to be the offspring of Hari. Cow-tailed is that. And Sarduli begot lions and tigers in numbers, and also leopards and other strong animals. And, O king, the offspring of Matangi are all the elephants. And Svita begot a large elephant known by the name of Svita, endued with great speed. And, O king, Surabi, hold on guys, I need to fix something here. There, fixed. And Surabi gave birth to 2 daughters, the amiable Rohini and the far-famed Gandharvi. And, O Bharata, she had also 2 other daughters named Vimala and Anala. From Rohini have sprung all cow, and from Gandharvi all animals of the horse species. And Anala begot the 7 kinds of trees yielding pulpy fruits. They are the date, is that a tree? The palm, the hintala, the tali. Yeah, why is that not translated, right? The little date, the nut, and the coconut. And she had also another daughter called Suki. Hey Del, how you doing, buddy? Dan, Tien, welcome. The mother of the parrot species, that's Suki. And so Surasa bore a son called Kanka, a species of long-feathered birds. And Yeni, the wife of Aruna, gave birth to 2 sons of great energy and strength, named Sampati and the mighty Jatayu. Surasa also bore the Nagas, snakes, remember? And Kruda, the Punagas, also snakes. And Vinata had 2 sons, Garuda and Aruna, known far and wide. And, O king of men, O foremost of intelligent persons, thus has the genealogy of the principal creatures been fully described by me. Alright, I hope we're going to get into something more interesting, the next section. By listening to this, a man is fully cleansed of all his sins and acquires great knowledge and finally attains to the first of states in afterlife. Alright, so it says here, if you listen to this, you'll never be born again in this world. Next section, more Sambhava Parva. Hold on, guys. Here we go. Janamajaya said, here we go, but light my cigarette. Do some sinful acts, right? Janamajaya said, O worshipful one, I wish to hear from thee in detail about the birth, no, not more, about the detail of the birth among men of the gods, the Danavas, the Gandharvas, the Rakshasas, the lion, the tiger, and other animals. Didn't we just do that? The snakes, the birds, and in fact of all creatures. I wish also to hear about the acts and achievement of those in due order after they became incarnate in human forms. Alright, I'm gonna skip this, guys. I'm really sick of all this name calling. Yeah. Oh, la 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 la. Scrolling down here. I want to get into some stories, not all these names. Get lost. Not very useful, is it? More names. Thus I have recited to thee all about the incarnations. Alright, so next section. Now let's hear what this is going to be about. Janamajaya said, O Brahmana, I have, indeed, heard from thee this account of the again. What's this? Okay, nothing. Saw something change on the Skype, it seems to be okay. I, however, again desire to hear of the dynasty of the Kurus from the very beginning. Okay, that I will read. Okay, this could be interesting. Or at least you get a little prehistory to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, alright? Therefore, O Brahmana, speak of this in the presence of these regenerate rishis. Vaisampayana said, O excellent one of Bharata's race, the founder of the Paurava line was Dushmanta, gifted with great energy, and he was the protector of the earth bounded by 4 seas. Bound by 4 seas? How's that? And that king had full sway over 4 quarters of this world. 4 quarters? Yeah, well, if there are quarters, there are 4, right? And he was the Lord also of various regions in the midst of the sea. And that great oppressor of all foes had sway over the countries, even of the Mlechas. Right, that's the lowest class, not even mentioned in the whole caste system. You know, they got Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and you know, below that are the Mlechas. And during his rule there were no men of mixed caste, no tiller of the soil for the land or itself, no tillers of the soil, for the land of itself yielded produce. Yeah, it does that. You don't need people to make the earth produce food. Yeah, it does that even today. No workers of mines, for the surface of the earth yielded in abundance, and no sinful men. All were virtuous and did everything from virtuous motives. O tiger among men, there was no fear of thieves. O dear one, no fear of famine, no fear of disease. And all 4 orders took pleasure in doing their respective duties and never performed religious acts for obtaining fruition of desires. Alright, so there's a contradiction in this paragraph here. When it says, no tillers of the soil, but then claim that all orders took pleasure in doing their respective duties, that's a contradiction. You see? And his subjects, depending upon him, never attained any fear. And Parjanya, Indra, poured showers at the proper time, and the produce of the fields was always pulpy and juicy. And the earth was full of all kinds of wealth and all kinds of animals. And the Brahmanas were always engaged in their duties, and they were always truthful. That's what they're supposed to be. And the youthful monarch was endued with wonderful prowess and physical frame hard as the thunderbolt, so that he could, taking up the mountain Mandara with its forest and bushes, support it on his arms. What kind of nonsense is that? You see a giant walking around with carrying mountains? Ridiculous, right? And he was well skilled in 4 kinds of encounters with the mace, hurling it at foes at a distance, striking at those that are near, whirling it in the midst of many, and driving the foe before. 4 kinds of ways to use a mace. And he was skilled also in the use of all kinds of weapons and in riding elephants and horses. And in strength he was like unto Vishnu, in splendor like unto the maker of day, in gravity like unto the ocean, and in patience like unto the earth. And the monarch was loved by all his subjects, and he ruled his contented people virtuously. Alright, so the only thing that I can derive from this is that whatever they told you in history, we were driving horses long before that. Alright? Janamajaya said, I desire to hear from thee about the birth and... Why do I say that we were driving horses long before that? Because there's no other way they could have written about it, you see? Janamajaya said, I desire to hear from thee about the birth and life of the high-souled Bharata, and of the origin of Sakuntala. And you know, this ties to another thing about that horse riding. There's mention of silk in the Vedas also. You know, when the Vedas are older than when they will, in history class, will tell you when we first started using silk. Alright, so that's a lie. Because the word silk even appears in ancient texts. Right? So how can that word even appear in the text if we didn't know how to make it, you see? O Holy One, I also desire to hear all about Dushmanta, the lion among men, and how the hero obtained Sakuntala. It behooves thee, O knower of truth, and the first of all intelligent men, to tell me everything. Yeah, oh, it's 1700. It's time for a break, guys. So, I'll give you some more of Poker Face.
What a nice little gathering of people that are growing into the party. This is a great night.
I know you can. I know you can.
Forces. Thank you so much.
Alright guys, welcome back. Second hour of the Solvinur Event. Let's see. Is there anybody in the chat room that I didn't mention the first hour? Joe, what's up buddy? Jax, Dan, welcome guys. Alright, let's pick this up where we left off. Vaisambhaya said, once upon a time, King Dushmanta of mighty arms, accompanied by a large force, went into the forest, and he took with him hundreds of horses and elephants. And the force that accompanied the monarch was of four kinds: foot soldiers, chariot warriors, cavalry, and elephants. Alright, so what's cavalry and foot soldiers? I thought those were the same. I guess I'm mistaken. Heroes armed with swords and darts, bearing in their hands maces and stout clubs. See, that's how they waged war. With swords, darts, clubs, maces. Doesn't say anything about tanks, M16s, you know? And surrounded by hundreds of warriors with lances and spears, the monarch set out on his journey. And with the leonine roars of the warriors and the notes of conscious... What does it say? The notes of conch, those are like... shells from the sea, and sounds of drums, with the rattle of the chariot wheels and the shrieks of huge elephants, all mingling with the neighing of horses and the clash of weapons in the variously armed attendants in diverse dresses. Dresses? That's for ladies, you know, a dress. These arose a deafening tumult while the king was on his march, and ladies gifted with great beauty beheld from the terraces of goodly mansions that heroic monarch, the achiever of his own fame. And the ladies saw that he was like unto Sakra, the slayer of his enemies, capable of repulsing the elephant of foes. Again, who's the enemy here? And they believed that he was the wielder of the thunderbolt himself, and they said, "This is that tiger among men who in battle is equal to the Vasus in prowess, and in consequence of the might of whose arms no foes are left." Again, which foes? And saying this, the ladies from affection gratified the monarch by showering flowers on his head, and followed by foremost of Brahmans uttering blessings all the way, the king, in great gladness of heart, went towards the forest. Oh yeah, he's so happy at heart now that he's slain all these creatures, right? That makes you happy? What kind of sick person are you? Seriously. Gladness of heart went towards the forest, eager for slaying the deer. Yeah, that make you happy? And many Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras followed the monarch, who was like unto the king of the celestials, seated on the back of a proud elephant. Elephants have pride? Is that so? The citizens and other classes followed the monarch for some distance, and they at last refrained from going further at the command of the king. And the king then, ascending his chariot of winged speed, filled the whole earth and even the heavens with the rattle of his chariot wheels. And as he went, he saw around him a forest like unto Nandana itself, the celestial garden. Alright, so apparently there is a celestial garden also. Huh, reminds you of the garden in the Bible, right? At least that's what it reminds me of. I never saw that as a literal garden, you know. It sounded to me more like it was heaven, that whole garden where Adam and Eve resided for a while until they got kicked out. Being kicked out of the garden, they had to incarnate in this world. That's how I interpret that portion of the Bible anyway. Because you see, one of the reasons is that they were walking around in the garden naked. And then when they were about to be kicked out, all of a sudden they noticed they were naked, you know? Which means they actually identified with their body, which you don't do in heaven, because there is no need to cover yourself in heaven. There is a need for that here on earth, though. Alright, it's one of the reasons why I see that whole garden story differently than most Christians do. You know, never ever take that stuff literally, guys. You will get so lost. And it was full of Vilva, Arca, Kadira, Capita, and Dava trees. And he saw that the soil was uneven and scattered over with blocks of stone loosened from the neighboring cliffs. And he saw that it was without water and without human beings, and he lay extended for many joyanas around. And it was full of deer and lion and other terrible beasts of prey. Other terrible beast of prey? Like a lion is a terrible beast? Really? I think it's a beautiful beast. Just like I think cats are beautiful beasts. Why terrible? What's so terrible about a lion? I mean, the lion makes sure that the herd that he is hunting is rid from its sick and it's weak, so that the herd itself becomes strong, you know? And King Dushmanta, the tiger among men, assisted by his followers and the warriors in his train, agitated that forest, killing numerous animals. What a bunch of fracking animals, right? Whoa, let's go into the forest and kill animals. That will make us happy. What a bunch of freaking barbarians. And Dushmanta, piercing them with his arrows, felled numerous tigers. Felled, that is F-E-L-L-E-D, not as in feeling, but rather like killing. Felled numerous tigers that were within shooting range. And the king wounded many that were too distant, and killed many that were too near with his heavy sword. And that forest of all wielders of darts killed many by hurling his darts at them. And well conversant with the art of whirling mace, this is not a fracking art. You know, if you want to call it an art, at least fight another human being. And well conversant with the art of whirling the mace, the king of immeasurable prowess fearlessly wandered over the forest. What a fracking coward. And the king roamed about, killing the denizens of the wilderness, sometimes with his sword and sometimes by fast descending blows of his mace and heavy club. Hold on, guys. And when the forest was so disturbed by the king, possessed of wonderful energy, and by the warriors in his train, delighting in warlike sports, the lions began to desert it in numbers. And herds of animals, deprived of their leaders, from fear and anxiety began to utter loud cries as they fled in all directions. And fatigued with running, they began to fall down on all sides, unable to slake their thirst, having reached riverbeds that were perfectly dry. And many, so falling, were eaten up by hungry warriors, while others were eaten up after having been duly quartered and roasted in fires lit up by them. Yeah. Alright, so again, the only thing I can get from this is that at some point we figured out that you can cook your food. And many strong elements, maddened with the wounds they received, and alarmed beyond measure. This sentence doesn't make sense. Fled with trunks raised on high. And those wild elephants, betraying the usual symptoms of alarm, I'm going to skip what it says here. It's not worthy for air. Next section. Vaisampayana said, "Then the king, with his followers, having killed thousands of animals, entered another forest with a view to hunting." He's killed thousands, but I'm not done yet. I'm going to kill some more. And attended by a single follower and fatigued with hunger and thirst, he came upon a large desert in the frontiers of the forest. And having crossed this herbless plain, the king came upon another forest full of full of the retreats of ascetics, beautiful to look at, delightful to the heart, and of cool, agreeable breezes. Have you guys in the chat all fallen dead or what? And it was full of trees covered with blossoms, the soil overgrown with the softest and greenest grass, extending for many miles around, and echoing with the sweet notes of winged warblers. Whatever that is, W-A-R-B-L-E-R-S. And it resounded with the notes of the male kokila and the shrill chikala. And it was full of magnificent trees, with outstretched branches forming a shady canopy overhead. And the bees hovered over flowery creepers all around. And there were beautiful bowers in every place. And there was no tree without fruit. None had the prickles on it. None that had no bees swarming around it. And the whole forest resounded with the melody of winged choristers. And it was decked with the flowers of every season. Every season? And there were refreshing shades of blossoming trees. Such was the delicious and excellent forest that the great bowman entered, and trees with branches beautified with clusters began to wave gently at the soft breeze and rain their flowers over the monarch's head. And the trees, clad in their flowery attires of all colors, with sweet-throated warblers perched on them, stood there in rows with heads touching the very heavens. And around their branches, hanging down with the weight of the flowers, the bees, tempted by the honey, hummed in sweet chorus. And the king, endued with great energy, beholding innumerable spots covered with bowers of creepers, decked with clusters of flowers, from excess of gladness became very much charmed. And the forest was exceedingly beautiful in consequence of those trees, ranged around the flowery branches, twining with each other, and looking like so many rainbows for gaudiness and variety of color. And it was the resort of bands of Siddhas, of the Charanas, of tribes of Gandharvas and Apsaras, of monkeys and of Kinnaras, drunk with delight. delicious cool. Alright then. Delicious cool and fragrant breezes conveying the fragrance from fresh flowers blew in all directions as if they had come there to sport with the trees. And the king saw that the charming forest gifted with such beauties. And it was situated in the delta of the river, and the cluster of high trees standing together lent the place the look of a gaudy pool erected to Indra's honor. And, hold on guys. And in that forest, which was the resort of ever-cheerful birds, the monarch saw a delightful and charming retreat of ascetics. And there were many trees around it, and the sacred fire was burning within it. Within what? The forest? A fire? And the king worshipped that unrivaled retreat, and he saw seated in it numerous yotis, Valakilyas, and other munis, and it was adorned with many chambers containing sacrificial fire, made by men, no doubt. Sacrificial fire. Why is it sacrificial fire? Because fire is one of the most important uses of nature's forces that man ever got himself a hold on. And the flowers dropping from the trees had formed a thick carpet spread over the ground, and the spot looked exceedingly beautiful with those tall trees of large trunks. And by it flowed, O king, the sacred and transparent Malini, with every species of waterfowl playing on its bosom. And that stream infused gladness into the hearts of the ascetics who resorted to it for purposes of ablutions. And the king beheld on its banks many innocent animals of the deer species, and was exceedingly delightful with all that he saw. All right, there's a kind of contradiction in this last sentence. It says, and the king beheld on its banks many innocent animals. All right? According to their own philosophy, all animals are innocent. So you don't have to, say that again here. And the monarch, the course of whose chariot no foe could obstruct, then entered that asylum, which was like unto the region of the celestials. Because, when it says, and the king beheld on its bank many innocent animals, it kind of implies that there are animals that are not innocent, right? Why else would you say that? You see? So that's why it's a kind of contradiction. Like unto the region of the celestials, being exceedingly beautiful all over. And the king saw that it stood on the margin of the sacred stream, which was like the mother of all the living creatures residing in its vicinage? Vicinage? What do you call that? Vicinity? I guess it's a derivative of the word vicinity. And on its bank sported the Chakravaka and waves of milk-white foam. And there stood also the habitations of Kinnaras, and monkeys and bears, too, disported themselves in numbers. And there lived also holy ascetics engaged in studies and meditation. Yeah. What were they studying? And there could be seen I'm asking myself, what were they studying, right? I'm thinking that they were just sitting there wondering what the hell is going on, trying to figure out how to conquer nature's forces, right? That study. And there could be seen also elephants and tigers and snakes. And it was on the banks of that stream that the excellent asylum of the illustrious Kashyapa stood, offering a home to numerous rishis of great ascetic merit. And beholding that river, and also the asylum washed by that river, which was studded with many islands, and which possessed banks of so much beauty, an asylum like unto that of Nara and Narayana, laved by the water of the Ganga, the king resolved to enter into that sacred abode. And that bull among men, desirous of beholding the great rishi of ascetic wealth, the illustrious convra of the race Kashyapa, breaking the sentence here, it says, and that bull among men, that's how the sentence starts, right? The only thing that I can think of why he's called bull among men is to do with the time that it takes place. Alright? They're talking about a time here that when the sun rises, it is in the sign of the bull, you see? Continuing. One who possessed every virtue and who, for his splendor, could be gazed at with difficulty, approached that forest resounding with the notes of maddened peacocks, and like unto the gardens of the great Gandharva, Chitraratra himself, and halting his army, consisting of flags, cavalry, infantry, and elephants at the entrance of the forest, the monarch spoke as follows. I shall go to behold the mighty ascetic of Kashyapa's race, one who is without darkness. Stay ye here until my return. And the king, having entered that forest, which was like unto Indra's garden, soon forgot his hunger and thirst, and he was pleased beyond measure. And the monarch, laying aside all signs of royalty, entered that excellent asylum with but his minister and his priest, desirous of beholding that rishi who was an indestructible mass of ascetic merit. And the king saw that the asylum was like unto the region of Brahman. Here were bees sweetly humming, and there were winged warblers of various species pouring forth their melodies. At particular places, that tiger among men, now it's a tiger among men. What the hell? At particular places, that tiger among men heard the chanting of Rik hymns by first-rate Brahmanas according to the just rules of intonation. Other places again were graced with Brahmanas acquainted with the ordinance of sacrifice, of the Angas, and of the hymns of the Yajurveda. Other places again were filled with the harmonious strains of Saman hymns sung by vow-observing rishis. At other places the asylum was decked with Brahmanas learned in Atharva Veda. At other places again, Brahmanas learned the Atharva Veda, and those capable of chanting the sacrificial hymns of the Saman were reciting the Samhitas according to the just rules of voice. And at other places again, other Brahmanas, well acquainted with the science of orthoepy, what the heck is that? Let's put that in the Google, guys. Copy. Paste. Let's see what we get. Orthoepy means the doctrine of correct pronunciation within a specific oral tradition. Alright? It's from Greek, apparently. So, where did the Greeks get it from? Because this stuff is much older than the Greeks. well acquainted with the science of orthoepy, were reciting mantras of all kinds. In fact, that sacred retreat resounding with these holy notes was like unto a second region of Brahman himself. And there were many Brahmanas skilled in the art of making sacrificial platforms and in the rules of krama in sacrifices, conversant with logic and the mental sciences. Yeah, right. There's something, what do you mean logic? There's nothing logical about adhering to a rather dogmatic view of what reality is. You know, there's no such a thing as approaching what they call reality in a logical way, because all of it consists of absolute properties, which can never ever be seen by any of the senses. In fact, all of those so-called absolute properties, which they claim is the only reality there is very contradictory in itself. It's very illogical, really. Alright, where were we? Conversant with logic and mental sciences, and possessing a complete knowledge of the Vedas. There were those also who were fully acquainted with the meanings of all kinds of expressions. Those that were conversant with all special rites. Those also that were followers of moksha dharma. Moksha means liberated. Those again that were well skilled in establishing positions. Where do you think grammar comes from? Oh, here. Interesting, right? It's in the next sentence. Those that were well skilled in establishing propositions, rejecting superfluous causes. Yeah. And drawing right conclusions. Right? Sounds like grammar logic, right? And then the next sentence, it says, there were those having a knowledge of the science of words. Brackets open, grammar, brackets closed. Yeah, that's not all there is to grammar, though. You know, it's not only the science of words. It's also the science of understanding those words, so that you do not have contradictions within your grammar. Of prosody. What the heck is that? That's another one we're going to put into Google, guys. What is prosody? Prosody, paste Google's. Prosody is a modern XMPP communication server, right? Linguistics. Prosody may refer to linguistics, the characteristics of speech style. Alright, so that's rhetoric, right? Do you see here that there is grammar, logic, rhetoric in this? You see? Of Nurukti, those again that were conversant with astrology. And learned in the properties of matter and the fruits of sacrificial rites, possessing a knowledge of causes and effects. I don't know if you guys heard me speak when I was still doing grammar, logic, rhetoric, or actually I never even got around much to the rhetoric part. But when I told you about this trivium, right, and that we were supposedly got it from the Greeks, I said that has to be rubbish. Remember? Because the whole grammar, logic, rhetoric thing is a reflection of how our mind works. And we had a mind long, long before the Greeks ever came along. This is to do with mind control. They know exactly how our mind works. It's grammar, logic, rhetoric. That's why it's no longer taught in schools. And this science of the trivium is way older than the Greeks. Continuing, possessing a knowledge of cause and effects, capable of understanding the cries of birds and monkeys, well read in large treatises, and skilled in various sciences. And the king, as he proceeded, heard their voices, and the retreat resounded also with the voice of men capable of charming human hearts. Talk about mind control, right? And the slayer of hostile heroes also saw around him learned brahmanas of rigid vows engaged in japa. I told you about that in the first hour. Brackets open. The repeated muttering of those names of gods. That's also mind control. The repeating over and over again the same words in a mantra. And Homa, burnt offering. And the king wondered much on, beholding the beautiful carpets, with those brahmanas offered to him, which those brahmanas offered to him respectfully. Blah, blah. And that best of monarchs, at the sight of the rites with which those brahmanas worshipped the gods and the great rishis, thought within himself that he was in the region of Brahman. And the more the king saw that auspicious and sacred asylum of Kasyapa, protected by the rishis' ascetic virtues and possessing all of the requisites of a holy retreat, the more he desired to see it. Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys. Got pain in my arm because I'm injured. Damn it. It's not going away soon enough. In fact, he was not satisfied with his short survey, and the slayer of heroes at last, accompanied by his minister and his priest, entered that charming and sacred retreat of Kasyapa, inhabited all around by rishis of ascetic wealth and exalted vows. Alright, next section. Phew! We got about 20 more minutes to go, guys. If you want to say something on air, you can do so. Just contact me at Skype. If I'm not in your list yet, send me a contact request. Solvinur, Solvinur, and I will get you on air. Vaisampiana said, the monarch then, as he proceeded, left even his reduced retinue at the entrance of the hermitage. I don't know what that is. No, Dan, I was reaching back for something, and I don't know what you call it in English. Let me translate that from Dutch into English. All right. Dutch, English, dictionary. Translate Dutch, English. Is that the one? No. Right, I've been doing an update and from Windows, and it really messed up my browser. That's just great, right? They forced this fracking update on you when your fracking browser doesn't work properly anymore. Dutch, English, dictionary. Dutch, English, dictionary. This one should be good. Dutch words. Alright. Look up. It doesn't even mention it. It does. It should say, but I don't get the translation. What is it? Sinews? Is that sinew? Sinew is the word. S-I-N-E-U. It got ripped apart like 8 weeks ago or so. And so I've been injured. Alright, Dan? Yeah. It's not funny. It's hurting like hell. I went to the doctor with it, and he made me do some movements, and a couple of them hurt. Most of them didn't, though. So he said I don't have an infection. Well, at least that helps. And he said just to keep it moving a bit, but it should pass on its own. Welcome, Radiance. Okay, let's pick this up. Where were we? And entering quite alone, he saw not the Rishi of rigid vows. And not seeing the Rishi and finding that the abode was empty, he called loudly, saying, "What ho, who is here?" And the sound of his voice was echoed back. And hearing the sound of his voice, there came out of the Rishi's abode a maiden beautiful as Sri herself, but dressed in an ascetic as an ascetic's daughter. And the black-eyed fair one, as she saw King Dushmanta, bade him welcome and received him duly. And showing him due respect by the offer of a seat, water to wash his feet, and Agria, she inquired about the monarch's health and peace. And having worshipped the king and asked him about his health and peace, the maiden reverently asked, "What must be done, O king? I await your command." The king, duly worshipped by her, said unto the maiden of faultless features and sweet speech, "I have come to worship the highly blessed Rishi Kanva." God. I'm sorry, guys. My arm is killing me. Tell me, O amiable one and beautiful one, where has the illustrious Rishi gone? Sakantula then answered, "My illustrious father has gone away from the asylum to fetch fruit. Wait but a moment, and thou wilt see him when he arrives." Vaisampaya continued, "The king, not seeing the Rishi, and addressed thus by her, beheld that the maiden was exceedingly beautiful and endued with perfect symmetry and shape. And he saw that she was of sweet smiles. And she stood decked with the beauty of her faultless features, her ascetic penances, and her humility. And he saw that she was in the bloom of youth. He therefore asked her, "Who art thou, and whose daughter, O beautiful one? Why hast thou come unto the woods also? O handsome one, gifted with so much beauty and such virtues, whence hast thou come? O charming one, at the very first glance hast thou stolen my heart. I desire to learn all about thee, therefore tell me all." And thus addressed by the monarch, the maiden smilingly replied in these sweet words, "O Dushmanta, I am the daughter of the virtuous, wise, high-souled, and illustrious ascetic Kanva." Dushmanta, hearing this, replied, "The universally worshipped and high-souled blessed Rishi is one whose seed has been drawn up. Even Dharma himself might fall off from his course, but an ascetic of rigid vows can never fall off so. Therefore, O thou of fairest complexion, how hast thou been born as his daughter? This great doubt of mine it behooves thee to dispel." Sakuntala then replied, "Hear, O king, what I have learned regarding of that befell me of old and how I became the daughter of the Muni. Once on a time the Rishi came here and asked about my birth, and that the illustrious one, Kanva, told him, "Hear now from me." My father Kanva, in answer to that Rishi's inquiry, said, "Vishvamitra of old, having been engaged in the austerest penances, alarmed Indra, the chief of the celestials, who thought that the mighty ascetic of blazing energy would by his penances hurl him down from the high seat in heaven." Huh? That's the thing about these demigods. Apparently humans have more power over them than they want. Indra, thus alarmed, summoned Meneka and told her, "Thou, O Meneka, art the first celestial Apsara. Therefore, O amiable one, do me this service. Hear what I say. This great ascetic Vishvamitra, like unto the sun in splendor, is engaged in the most severe of penances. My heart is trembling with fear. Indeed, O slender-waisted Menaka, this is thy business. Thou must see that Vishvamitra of soul, wrapped in contemplation and engaged in austerest penances, who might hurl me down from my seat. Go and tempt him, and frustrating his continued austerities, accomplish my good. Win him away from his penances, O beautiful one, by tempting him with thy beauty, youth, agreeableness, arts, smiles, and speech." Hearing all this, Menaka replied, "The illustrious Vishvamitra is endued with great energy and is a mighty ascetic. He is very short-tempered too, as is known to thee. The energy, penances, and wrath of the high-souled one have made even thee anxious. Why should I not also be anxious? He it was who made even the illustrious Vasista bear the pangs of witnessing the premature death of his children. He it was who, though at first born as Kshatriya, subsequently became a Brahmana by virtue of his ascetic penances. He it was who, for purpose of his ablutions, created a deep river that can with difficulty be forded, and with sacred stream known by the name of Kausiki. It was Vishvamitra whose wife, in a season of distress, was maintained by the royal sage Matanga, who was then living under a father's curse as a hunter. It was Vishvamitra who, on returning after the famine was over, changed the name of the stream, having his asylum from Kausik into Para. None of this makes any sense to me, guys. It was Vishvamitra who, in return for the services of Matanga, himself became the latter's priest for purposes of a sacrifice. The Lord of the Celestials himself went through fear to drink the soma juice. Alright, that's Indra, Lord of the Celestials. It was Vishvamitra who in anger created the second world and numerous stars beginning with Shravana. He it was who granted protection to Trishanku, smarting under a superior's curse. I am frightened to approach him of such deeds. Tell me, O Indra, the means that should be adopted so that I may not be burned by his wrath. He can burn the three worlds by his splendor, can by a stamp of his foot cause the earth to quake. He can sever the great Meru from the earth, that's a mountain, Meru, and hurl it to any distance. He can go round the 10 points of the earth in a moment. How can a woman like me even touch such a one full of ascetic virtues, like unto a blazing fire, and having his passion under complete control? His mouth is like unto blazing fire, the pupils of his eyes like the sun and the moon. His tongue is like unto Yama himself. How shall, O chief of the celestials, a woman like me even touch him? At the thought of his prowess, Yama, Soma, the great rishis, the Satyas, the Vishvas, Valikiliyas, and are terrified. How can a woman like me gaze at him without alarm? Commanded, however, by thee, O king of the celestials, I shall somehow approach that rishi, but, O chief of the gods, devise thou some plan whereby, protected by thee, I may safely move about that rishi. Not gonna happen, Dan. I think that when I begin to play before the rishi, Marut, the god of the wind, had better go there and rob me of my dress. And Manmata, the god of love, had also, at thy command, better help me then. Let also Marut on that occasion bear fragrance from the woods to tempt the rishi. Saying this and seeing that all she had spoken about had been duly provided, Meneka went to the retreat of the great Kausika. Kanva continued, and Sakra, thus addressed by her, then commanded him who could approach every place. That's the one commanded here is the god of the wind. To be present with Menaka at the time she would be before the rishi. And the timid and beautiful Menaka then entered the retreat and saw there Vishvamitra, who had burned by his penances all his sins, and was engaged still in ascetic penances. All right, that's strange, right? The whole reason why they do ascetic penances is to get rid of their karma. But if you do too many ascetic penances, you build up good karma, which makes you be born again here. So, senseless. And saluting the rishi, she then began to sport before him. And just at that time, Marut robbed her of her garments that were white as the moon. White as the moon? I thought that thing was yellow. And she thereupon ran, as if in great bashfulness, to catch hold of her attire, and as if she was exceedingly annoyed with Marut. And she did all this before the very eyes of Vishvamitra, who was endued with energy like that of fire. And Vishvamitra saw her in that attitude, and beholding her divested of her robes, he saw that she was of faultless feature, and that best of Munis saw that she was exceedingly handsome, with no marks of age on her person. Yeah. And he doesn't become suspicious, right? The so-called wise man. And he's being set up. And beholding her beauty and accomplishments, that bull amongst rishis was possessed with lust and made a sign that he desired her companionship. And he invited her accordingly. And she also, of faultless features, expressed her acceptance of the invitation. And they then passed a long time there in each other's company, and sporting with each other just as they pleased for a long time, as if it were only a single day. The rishi begot on Menaka a daughter named Sakuntala. And Menaka, as her conception advanced, went to the banks of the river Malini, coursing along a valley of the charming mountains of Himavat. And there she gave birth to that daughter. And she left the newborn infant on the bank of the river and went away. Now, is that any way to treat your newborn? And beholding the newborn infant lying in the forest, destitute of human beings, but abounding with lions and tigers, a number of vultures sat around to protect it from harm. So then, protected by vultures, huh? No Rakshasa or carnivorous animal took its life. Those vultures protected the daughter of Menaka. I went there to perform my ablutions and beheld the infant lying in the solitude of the wilderness surrounded by vultures. Bringing her here, I have made her my daughter. Indeed, the maker of the body, the protector of life, the giver of food are all three. Father in their order, according to the scriptures. Yeah. So you got, I told you a couple of weeks ago that there's like 7 mothers that you have, one among them being Mother Earth, right? There's also apparently fathers, right? Maker of body, protector of life, and giver of food. It's strange, right? Because it's the earth that gives food. And that's Mother Earth. And because she was surrounded in the solitude of the wilderness by Sakuntas, those are birds, therefore has she been named by me Sakuntala, bird protected. Yeah, strange, right? Then, is that in the Bible also, then? About protecting a child born in nature? Strange. I don't remember that story. O Brahman, learn that it is thus that Sakuntala has become my daughter, and the faultless Sakuntala also regards me as her father. This is what my father had said unto the Rishi, having been asked by him, O king of men, it is thus that thou must know I am the daughter of Kanva, and not knowing my real father, I regard Kanva as my father. Thus have I told thee, O king, all that has been heard by me regarding my birth. Next section, but we're not going to get into that. We'll pick this up next week. It's 58, which means in a minute the bumper is going to kick in. Born in the barn and all animals rejoiced. The child you're talking about is Jesus. Vardas? What are Vardas? Do you mean Vedas? Coop? Anyway, people in the chat, thanks for listening. Dal, Cooper, Radiance, Jax, JJ, Joe, Jules, Planet, Vincent, and one and on. Thanks for listening, guys.
The very word secrecy is repugnant.
See you guys next week.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific